Hey guys, this is Mitchell. I've been getting a lot of comments from people asking me to give my thoughts on the Dark Souls 2 trailer. The thing I have about that is, I've watched the trailer a couple times, and there's really not much that you can really infer of what Dark Souls 2 is going to be like based on a CG trailer, where they're just swinging around swords, people are there's a guy dying with arrows, and like I said, you can't really infer much of what the game is going to be about just based on the trailer. So I think rather than focusing on talking about the trailer, I would go over a couple of my hopes and just my hopes of what I want to see in Dark Souls 2, what I want to see fixed, what I want to see stay the same, etc., etc. Now, let me warn you. I know that many people out there think Dark Souls 1 is pretty much a perfect game, and it's the pinnacle of hardcore gaming. I'm not one of those people, unfortunately. I hate to break it to you. I think that Dark Souls does have a lot of flaws in its game design. I think it could stand to be a little more accessible to the masses. I've talked to a lot of people people whose opinions about games I very much respect, and I've heard them just say how they couldn't get into Dark Souls. It was just too much of a time investment for something that was not fun until you get past that initial hump of, not knowing how to play Dark Souls. So yeah, here we go. Let's go into what I want from Dark Souls 2. Number 1, better menu screens and UI. So one of my biggest problems about Dark Souls is I think the menu screens are really convoluted, confusing. There's too much going on. You gotta flip between two different extra menus. Like you press square to see one menu, triangle to see another type of menu, and it's just it's too much of an info dump. I wish that they found a way to somehow condense the amount of info that is assaulting your eyes at once. Also, I think in the actual inventory screen, I really wish there was a way to sort your items in different ways, either choose from sorting alphabetically, sorting the last item you received, sort by type, sort by worth, sort by damage, etc. Just a way to sort the items to find what you want more easily. I know not having that is a way to incentivize you to buy the bottomless box and put away the items that you don't want to deal with in your on-the-fly inventory menu, but it's not worth the aggravation of going through all that crap. So yeah, better menu screens, better UI would be a no-brainer to me if I was helping design Dark Souls 2. My second big thing is that I want to see a more direct story rather than learning about the story through item descriptions and pieces of lore found in the world. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think learning about the lore of the world from the environment is great, and I'm not saying that you get rid of that. However, I do think Dark Souls could benefit from a more direct story, interacting more with NPCs rather than just as shops or as instructions. I think it could really benefit from having another character that's with you pretty much throughout the whole game, like Solaire, but more involved in Solaire. I think if you can become attached to people in the environment that go along with you on these dangerous adventures, and there's a potential for them dying over the course of the adventure, I think that would go a long way in making the story of Dark Souls 2 a lot more involved for me as a player. As it is, like I said, going through, my grasp of the story was tied to whatever I was doing at that moment. So, I'm going through, I talked to the guy at the Firelink Shrine. He says, go ring these 2 bells. I'm like, alright, I guess I'm ringing bells. And then I ring the bells, like, oh, that door opened. Okay, I guess now I can go into this area. But I don't really know what's driving me to go into Sen's Fortress. I wish that there was more of a character-driven reason to why I was going where I was going, rather than, oh, look, that door opened. Guess I'm going there now. So that's kind of what I want out of the story of Dark Souls 2. Just more of a direct storyline to give me as a player some incentive to go to new places rather than just, oh look, a door opened. So yeah, that's my second point. The third thing I would like to see in Dark Souls 2, I would like to see more defined classes. When you start the game, obviously you can choose between a soldier, a pyromancer, a sorcerer, a thief, a knight, etc., etc., etc. And really, the only real difference between the classes are your starting stats, your starting weapon and armor, and your starting skills. Like sometimes, it's not even always starting skills. The starting skill is really only if you're a sorcerer or a pyromancer. What I would like to see is some more variation between them. Maybe some class-specific skills. Like if you're a thief, maybe you can get very limited temporary invisibility to sneak your way around to someone's back and get more backstabs. If you're a soldier, maybe some sort of charging move. Just more. I want more of a reason to go back and play the game again using a different class rather than just oh, now I have more vitality, so I can take more damage at the start of the game. But yeah, it seems pretty simple. I don't think it should cause too much of a problem for the balance of the game, and it's something that I would really like to see. Number 4, I think From Software needs to keep things fresh, but also keep things familiar. One of the best things about the jump from Demon's Souls to Dark Souls was that they did just that. They kept things fresh. They added a completely new way of experiencing the world of Demon's Souls. Rather than going from level to level, all connected by a hub world, you went through an entire open world. Some things were locked off, some things weren't locked off, but would beat the hell out of you if you tried to go there before you were ready for them. And I think it would be cool if Dark Souls 2 could do something similar. And also the way that they changed the weapon upgrade system from the Demon's Souls method to the different stones and shards and chunks and all that stuff, because it was really convoluted in Demon's Souls, and they really needed to make that change in Dark Souls. And I was glad that they did. Also, the change of magic. I think if they can do something similar to, especially the change in magic, because that was a pretty huge change. I would like to see them do something also similar to that in Dark Souls 2, where they take one of the systems that is firmly established in Dark Souls and do a lot of reinventing of it and still make it work. I know that's a tall order, but I have confidence that From Software can pull it off. The next thing I would like to see, and this is something that I think would be really, really cool. One of my problems with the co-op element of Dark Souls, sorry, it's cold here, I'm shivering. One of the problems with the co-op aspect of Dark Souls was that I felt like I was taking an easy way out whenever I wanted to summon someone. Like if I was at Ornstein Smough and I see the summon signs, I'm like, I can do this by myself, you guys. I don't need your help. It was a matter of pride to me to try to get through a level without summoning someone. So I think rather than just letting people join you in a game while you're playing through the single-player game, how cool would it be to have specific areas of the world map where you can only travel into them if you have a co-op partner, and they would be scaled to that. So the enemies wouldn't be so easy that you can just kill them with 2 of your guys hitting them with really powerful weapons. It would be really difficult areas that would be focused on co-op elements. And also you can have an area where you do the Resident Evil thing where one person goes up one way, opens the door for the other person, that kind of cool stuff. So that's what I really want to see evolve in the co-op aspect of Dark Souls 2. And this could also go into the PvP aspect. You can have areas that are specifically made for PvP where 4 people can enter at one time, and they can just fight their way through monsters and eventually meet up at a certain spot. or maybe even have them race to get to a certain spot first so that they can get a tactical advantage in like a PvP room or something like that. I think that would be so cool. There's so much potential in the PvP and co-op aspect of Dark Souls 2, and I'm really excited to see what they come up with. Alright, and this one is going to be the biggest. Oh man, I think he's crazy. I don't want them to do this. But I think Dark Souls does kind of need a separate difficulty mode for people who are new to the series, or couldn't get into Dark Souls or Demon Souls because of the fact that it was too hard. I think a good way to do this would be to implement an adaptive difficulty mode, kind of like what God Hand had. My vision for this is at the start of the game, people choose beginner mode or something for Dark Souls 2, and what happens is you start the game. Something about the game is easier. Either you don't lose souls if you die twice, or the monsters are a little bit easier, etc., etc. And then as you're going through the game, you get past the tutorial, you get past the first area, you're doing really well, you haven't died in a while, you get a message saying that the difficulty level is now coming up. Now, another aspect of the game is becoming more like the regular Dark Souls, where, if you die, you have to find your bloodstain. If you die again, you lose all your souls, or the monsters get harder, etc., etc. And the reason why I think that would be perfect for Dark Souls is because the difficulty in Dark Souls is not so much the challenge of the enemies or the fast-paced nature of the combat, because it's not like Devil May Cry, it's not like Ninja Gaiden where people are attacking you from all sides and it's really fast-paced. The challenge in Dark Souls is really learning how to play Dark Souls, learning the nuances of each enemy's attacks, learning the timing you need for a parry, learning when to attack, when to block, when to stop blocking so you regain your stamina. Just learning how to play Dark Souls is the biggest challenge of playing Dark Souls. I think if you give people the opportunity to learn Dark Souls without getting punished repeatedly, I think there would be a lot less frustration, and people would be a lot more willing to learn the ropes of the game before getting thrown to the lions. So that's my whole thing of what I want to see in Dark Souls 2. I put a lot of thought into it. I do think that there is a lot of room for improvement in Dark Souls, so I am very much looking forward to what From Software comes up with for the sequel. And I look forward to chatting with my formerly skeptical friends about what, I would talk to them and they would tell me why they hated Dark Souls. I'm like, oh man, you should really play it some more. I know how you feel because I kind of went through the same process. And like I've said in the past, if I was not forced to play through the entirety of Dark Souls for a walkthrough, there is a good chance that I probably would have rage quit. I would have put it on a shelf, maybe never to come back to it. Maybe I would have come back to it and then rage quit again. But I have to be honest. Playing through Dark Souls for a walkthrough was one of the biggest reasons why I ended up pushing through it and, having it wind up being one of my favorite games of the current console generation. So yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Random arm movements to end the video. Bye-bye.